Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you, Vicki and Martine and Alan and Kelly. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to keep everyone on mute for the time being. If you would please enter any questions you have in the chat, and we will get back to you at the closer to the end of the webinar. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our community leader sponsors, Nashville Christian School and NHC Place at the Trace, our community champion sponsors, Regions Bank, Seven Springs Orthopedics, and Parkside Builders, and our community advocate sponsors, Westgate Enterprises, Temple Hills Country Club, and Clarendale at One Bellevue Place. So thank you to those sponsors. And we're very pleased this morning to have Jenny Barker and Lauren Reed with us from Reed Public Relations. These ladies have been kind enough to take their time and share some insights with us this morning about branding and messaging during the COVID-19 pandemic. So I think this will be extremely useful information for you. Lauren is the founder and the president of Reed Public Relations. She has an accreditation in public relations and is a member of the Public Relations Society of America. She has been named to the Nashville Business Journal's 40 Under 40, which is a really big deal. Received a Nashville Emerging Leader Award and was on the Nashville Business Journal's Most Admired CEO list for the past 2 years. So Lauren brings some extremely good experience, and she's extremely successful in her field. So we're very happy to have her with us. Jenny Barker is the Vice President of Reed Public Relations, joining the team in 2018. She led the PR and marketing for Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center for almost 8 years and served as part of Marriott International's PR team. She began her career with Atkinson PR in 2004 and went on to oversee communications for Centennial Medical Center. And she now helps to drive Reed Public Relations growth by managing the account team and overseeing PR and marketing strategy for their clients. So thank you so much again, Lauren and Jenny, for being with us this morning. And I'm going to turn it over to Lauren.
Great. I'm going to pull up my slides, and while I do, first, thank you guys for having us. We always love getting to work with chambers and Volts in these smaller groups. So I'm really happy it's a smaller group today. So I'm going to make this a little bit, it was already going to be interactive. We're going to make it a little more interactive than usual, seeing the group size, which is always fun. So while I pull up my slides, I would love if the chamber members on the call could just quickly introduce themselves and your business. I know you guys probably know each other, but it would be great if you could just share what your company is, what organization you're with, your role there. And then if you just have one thing you want to get out of this presentation today, let us know what it is so we can be sure to address that. So I'm going to pull up my slides. Amy, do you want to kind of lead this part for everyone?
Sure. I'm going to unmute you, Vicki. Hang on. Unmute is taking a couple of clicks here for some reason.
And then Amy, it looks like my screen sharing is disabled by the host, so I'll need permission for that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know how that happened. Okay. How's that?
There we go. Yep, should be good. Thank you.
All right, let me just go down here and see if I can unmute people. Okay, Vicki, you are unmuted. Can you introduce yourself and what?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I'm with Encircle Acupuncture, and she's been open about 10 years in East Nashville and less than a year in Bellevue. And sorry, there's some noise in the background. I am the outreach coordinator, and I work also as receptionist. And I would love, yeah, I would love to get, something I would like to get out of this presentation is we're a high volume, low cost clinic, so we see a lot of people. So this has been difficult for us because of social distancing. So we would like to let our patients know that when they come to our clinic, they are safe.
All right.
Perfect.
So,
We've got
yeah.
a whole discussion prepared for that.
Good.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and mute you, Vicki, and Martine, I'm going to unmute you. Hang on one second. I don't know why I have to keep unmuting. There we go. It's a little bit delayed. Hold on. Can you try to unmute yourself, Martine, because it's not working on my end for whatever reason. There we go.
Okay, how about now?
Now, that's good.
Okay, perfect. I'm Martine Sanders. I'm with the Manning Insurance Agency. We're independent agents in the West Nashville area. And what I hope to get out of this is kind of how to navigate our new reality. We have seen no change in our business at this point, but I do anticipate the next 3 to 6 months kind of changing what our customers are needing, wanting, that kind of thing. So just kind of how to navigate our new reality.
Great.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Kelly, can you hear me?
I can. I am really real in my car. So I'm about to give birth in a couple of weeks. And so I'm trying really hard to find a place where it can be quiet away from my children and also hear this great conference. So I'm stealing the Wi-Fi from the clinic. So I work for Complete Health Partners, which is an urgent care and primary care clinic in the West Nashville Shopping Center. And we have been testing and seeing COVID patients. And we set up a tent back in mid-March to really let people know we're taking this seriously. We're seeing everybody outside. And so just, which is why I'm out in the car stealing the Wi-Fi. And so we just want to know how to best kind of communicate to our neighbors that we're here and we're open. And we are taking the best precautions we can to continue seeing our normal primary care and orthopedic injuries and that kind of stuff while also taking care of patients with COVID. So I think that whatever insights you'll have for that would be great.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly, and good luck with that beautiful baby you're getting ready to have. Okay. Alan, you are not muted now, my friend.
Oh, no, that's dangerous. Well, good morning, ladies. I am with a land development consulting firm. Basically, we're in the design world in terms of designing commercial real estate, residential real estate, so forth, so on. So I'd be interested to know the exact time and date this will all be back to normal. So that'd be great if y'all could tell us that.
We have a slide that addresses that as well.
If you have the exact date and time, that's all. If you could flash that up there now, I'm good. No, obviously we're in a new world and things are going to be a little bit different and maybe a long time before we ever see the normal we're used to, if we ever see the normal. So understanding how to best communicate in the situation we are today. That's what I'd like to get out of it.
Great.
All right. Thank you, Alan.
Was that everyone, Amy?
Yeah, unless Jennifer wanted to introduce herself and let everybody know who she is.
Yeah, Jennifer, tell them about the rabbit hole.
I actually can pitch in too. So I work with Reed PR, doing some of their marketing internally for the agency. But I also own a small business myself. So I get the special treat to be on these webinars and try to get some insights from these ladies, which is awesome. But I own the Rabbit Hole VR. It's a virtual reality gaming arcade, one location downtown Nashville and one in Franklin. And it is a customer facing business. So we've really been struggling with how to communicate our new sanitation standards and safety measures and all of that sort of thing. So similar to the acupuncture facility, we are always interested in how we can do that a little bit better.
Great.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Jennifer.
Well,
okay.
So Amy, I'm just going to take it from here if that's okay.
That's great.
So again, thanks for having us. It was great. I love that we have the smaller group and I was able to now know everyone on the call and what they're really looking for and what they do. It'll help us as we talk today. And we really like to make these interactive. So I don't want you to get off of this and think, oh, that was another webinar. I want everyone on here to leave with some actionable items. So Kelly, I know you're in the car. For those who are not, if you can have a pen and paper ready, we're gonna work through a couple exercises. And what we're bringing you today come from a couple different, levels of experience. And I'm talking to you guys as a business owner because I've been dealing with all this as well, right? Like I know what the whole, I never want to hear the words PPP again or SBA. But then on the flip side, I'm so grateful to them. But I've been dealing with all of the business owner challenges, since this all came about in early March. But we've also been working it from the market side. And I hope to bring both of those experiences and perspectives to you all today. We've broken our time together into 3 sections. So the first one is really what to do right now to set yourself up for post-COVID success. And this is where I want you to have a pen and paper handy. We're going to work through a few things. Looking ahead, we're going to then talk about how does this change the industry? What can we do right now to get ahead of it? What does our new normal look like for marketing? And then we're going to take questions at the end. So however, it being a small group, use the chat function. If I don't see it while I'm talking, Jennifer and Jenny will and can flag it for me. I'm happy to jump in. I know Jenny is as well. We're going to be going back and forth and answer any questions on the fly. So either way, let's see. So a little bit about our agency. I know Amy gave a great bio intro for both of us, but I started the company, it'll be 8 years ago in July. So that feels kind of crazy because it feels like yesterday. We joke the company is my middle child because I had a 3-year-old when I started it, and I have a 3-year-old now. So the company kind of is the middle child, and my most well-behaved most times, if I'm being honest. But I never in a million years would have thought, we'd be operating this agency in a pandemic. I just never crossed my mind. So the cool thing is, as most business owners are, I run a little wired and anxious at times. So I actually had a written plan for what will we do, a recession plan, essentially. So I kind of had, I had a lot of things in place in different revenue levels, and I look at it every year to know. So it took the emotion out of it. Oh, revenue might be dropping. What do we do? It's not what should we do. It's what to do, and then you just act. And it took the emotion out of it. So that was really great because we actually ourselves we suffered some revenue loss and client losses and pauses right away because our agency does a lot of consumer-facing work. We're going into this, we were probably about 70% consumer, 30% more of a B2B agency. And so, we represent people like the Hermitage and Nashville Shores Water Park and a lot of restaurants and hotels that were pausing, and which was totally understandable. So we had to quickly act and figure out how are we going to save this and replace this revenue. So what I'm going to talk through today is part of how we did that, and I'm hoping it's going to give you some applicable lessons for where the stage you're at in your business right now. Why though? We're already in the crisis, right? We're 2 months in. We're over 2 months in. Our businesses have all been shut down for 2+ months now. You see Jenny and I in our office. we haven't opened it back up yet. We're just hiding from our kids and giving the webinar here because we thought it would be quieter for you all and we'd be able to focus better. But so this is a very different presentation in some ways than we would have given 6 months ago on crisis comms or 2 months ago. But there's some foundational things that are going to always be the same. And that's how you act and appear to the world during a crisis. And this pandemic most certainly is going to impact your brand for years to come, good or bad. So especially now, your message really matters. And you have an opportunity to make a lasting impression by how you're communicating right now. And, you know, a few of you had mentioned, how are we gonna communicate and really get out there our new sanitation requirements, and that we're doing everything on the up and up and all of that. And this is a really great opportunity. So I wanna kind of go into this hour we have together, 40 minutes or whatever it is now, with the mindset of, let's get it out of the way that none of us want to be in a crisis, right? We don't want to be here. This is not fun. We'd all rather be in a booming economy, but we're not right now at the moment. So let's talk about how this is an opportunity, and let's all switch our mindset to we have this really great opportunity to continue to build the brand and the investment you've made in your brand over the past several years, and why and how we can do that. So we're gonna start with, it's really critical to think about all of your stakeholders. So I want to write down, pull out a pen and paper, and just quickly write down. I'm gonna give you 30 seconds. So any exercise we do today, it's on the fly and don't overthink it. So I'm gonna walk you through our process, but we're only gonna be getting started. And then we'll be sending you some follow-up and a worksheet of how you can finish all of this on your own. So quickly write down anyone who is impacted by your business. I'm setting my timer for 30 seconds, starting now. Okay, you have about 5 seconds. Okay. So we're gonna come back to that. This might feel a little disjointed, but I promise there's a process to that. So keep it handy. And what we're doing is we're determining your company, your organization's 3 to 5 brand filters specific to this crisis, to this pandemic. And why are we doing this? I'm gonna liken it to something I'm familiar with, and that's marathon training. So my first few weeks of training, and use whatever metaphor works for you. My first few weeks of training though, man, I'm on it. I'm a rock star. I don't miss a run. My nutrition's on point, you know, but by week 14, unfortunately, I can't say the same thing. You know, I might get home late one night, miss a run, or might not be as hydrated as I should be. So my point in that is none of us are designed to go that hard all the time, but that's what this pandemic is requiring. And we're 2.5 months into it right now. And maybe the first few weeks, we could go hard all the time and we could be energized by it and on top of it and thinking of every last thing that needs to be said and done. But 2.5 months in, and I know, Alan, you said you want to know when this is over. None of us know, obviously, but which I know you knew that too. But the thing is, because we don't know when it's over, is adding this layer of stress to everybody. And we're seeing it with ourselves, with our clients. So we know, you know, we're training. We know if we're talking marathon metaphor, it's like we're training, but we don't even know when the race is and when training is going to stop, right? So there's no clear end goal or finish line right now. It's just we're doing what we can for our businesses to survive. And you can do that and be really diligent for a few weeks and things won't slip up. After that, you have to have a process. And that's what we're going to teach you today. You're going to take away this process so that you can run all of your communications through it. So we wrote down those stakeholders. Now I'm going to take another 30 seconds. Just pick one or two, okay? What do you want? So imagine this pandemic is over, because it will be. We're going to get through this. We don't know when. I hope it's sooner rather than later, but who knows? How do you want each of your stakeholders to say you handled this crisis? So I'm going to give you an example, and then you're going to pick one or two and do it yourself. So an example of ours, when I did this for our agency, I want our clients, they're a stakeholder, I want them to say we reassured them and we provided guidance in a time of instability. I want them to say our commitment to excellence was constant and turnkey, and that we were able to continue our services with minimal disruption. I want our employees to say we took care of them to the best of our ability. We were fair, humane, and kind. We acted with compassion. And that we're thought leaders and a resource. That was an overall agency goal, you know, sharing creative solutions based on our industry expertise. So we're going to go back to, hang on one sec. We're going to go back to one or two of your stakeholders, and we're going to really define how you want your audience to think of them, your brand, post-pandemic. And then we're going to explain how that will guide all of your immediate communications. So I'm going to set my timer for another 30 seconds. Pick one or two. Employees and your customers seem to always be a good one for this process. But, you know, you might have a board or others, vendors. You know, my landlord's a stakeholder, right? All of our partners are stakeholders. So pick what feels most relevant to you right now and go. Time's up. Is anyone willing to share what they wrote? Anyone?
I'm happy to.
Okay, Alan, thank you.
You know, I had more just quick words more than anything, but I put strong mainly, you know, we'd like them to think, hey, they're a strong company. They took this without a glitch. Reliable, good communication, great ideas for the situation, helpful, and dependable.
I love it. And I'm not gonna put you on the spot with this, but as everyone kind of looks through their own, think through how you've been communicating for the past couple months. Does it match up? You know, does everyone in your gut, has everything you've done matched up to that? And it's okay if not. But the reason we're doing this is so that you have a process. Once these are defined, these 3 to 5 filters that you run everything through. And as you can see, these are ours. So how I take that is, let's say we're doing an e-newsletter, or we're just having a conversation with an employee. This is for all communications. So if I'm in staff meetings sharing an update of where the company is, before I prepare my remarks or anything I'm going to say, I run it through all 4 of these bullets. So that is the takeaway here. And you're not going to have your plan done at the end of this hour, but you are going to receive a worksheet to really work through that, and then an opportunity for a free session, which I'll get to later, with someone on our team if you need a little more help working through it and putting this plan together at no cost. So that that leads into your core values. I'm confident everyone here has core values and that they feel good about. And I'm going to show a little bit about how your core values have to really play into this. And your filters have to be cross-checked with your core values. So in our case, I'll use one example of our give back core value. You know, as an agency, a marketing agency, measurable results is absolutely our most important core value, because if I can't show our value and the ROI that our clients are getting from working with them, then we can't do any of the rest of them, right? So, but my favorite is give back. And we have a program, our agency, called Be the Good. And it's where we take a portion of our revenue each year and we provide grants for people to do mission work or service work. Typically people who wouldn't afford to be able to do these trips otherwise. You know, they wouldn't have the funding otherwise. So it could be a whole nother webinar of how we came to that and why, but long story short, I have a very deep passion for volunteer work, and I think it makes you a better business owner, employee, spouse, mother, daughter, all of that. And I've always been very passionate about that. And when our agency had an opportunity to set up this program, it was a dream come true. I know that sounds so cliche, but it really was. Well, that requires travel, right? So there's something that's not really going on right now. So we had several trips set up for people we were funding to go on these trips that got canceled. So all of a sudden we are not meeting one of our core values. We're unable to fulfill part of our company's mission. And we had to figure out, okay, so then going back to these examples of the filters we set, how are we going to still be able to do that? And we looked at these, and one of them is we were thought leaders. We're a resource. We want to share creative solutions based on our industry expertise. So that is how we came up with the COVID communications hotline. And essentially within a few days of the pandemic, we pulled this together, and it's a zero cost solution to businesses just like yours. Sign up for a 45-minute Zoom session and we walk you through the brand filter process that we are doing today. But you know, it's one-on-one and we're very focused, and most people are able to get that turned around in the hour. And then we send you a follow-up with all your mini plan. So more on that later. Any of you all are welcome to visit this website and sign up for one. We love doing these. But setting those brand filters is what helped us come to our actions during the pandemic. And doing that, I mean, this COVID hotline got our agency coverage. The New York Times covered it. So it's been really cool to see how we took the time to set how we're going to act during this pandemic and to see things come from it and tied back to our core values. It's been really cool to watch. So what we're going to talk now about is how you can use these. We're going to set these, but how do you actually use them day to day, right? So I'm going to turn this over to Jenny. Jenny has deep crisis experience. You don't often meet someone who has managed crisis communications for an American Airlines plane crash back in 2004, but then she's also dealt with norovirus. And Jenny, I'll let you give a few examples of your favorite crises you've dealt with, but she's going to talk a little bit about how you then use these brand filters right now, like in your day-to-day, and what's going on in your business at a deeper level.
Yeah, so crisis communications is one of my favorite areas of practice. And I think what's different about what we're going through right now is that this is a sustained crisis. And so the marathon analogy, I think, is very relevant here. I think about, most of the situations that I've dealt with, and I went through a ton of crisis work at Gaylord Opryland. The flood was, the reopening of that hotel was a mammoth project. And then it seemed like every year there was some sort of major crisis with a place that has 3,000 guest rooms. It's to be expected to some degree, but some sort of national media attention for a crisis or a situation that was evolving there, from protesters to having to evacuate the entire hotel after an explosion that occurred there. But I think this is where, and if we could advance to the next slide, Lauren, taking this down to a practical level, when it comes to these types of situations, what we're finding is perception is everything. And that reinforces the importance of taking the long view, because any little mistake or infraction that occurs right now has the potential to damage your reputation for the long haul. I mean, you look at the reopening of Nashville and the different phases that we've been in. And I mean, just over this past long weekend, there have been almost 100 people that called and made complaints to the city about how the reopening process was going. And so I think this is really, it's helpful to kind of sit back and go, okay, what's the headline that I would wish for this situation? How would we want to be known? It's, my company weathers the storm, right? Or even thinking about the opposite, right? That can kind of help you think about, if you don't want to be in those headlines of those 95 businesses over the weekend that got complaints, how do you need to act so that you are not lumped in with that group that has a negative perception? I think another thing that we're seeing during this time is the importance of digital communication. And that has been a trend for quite some time, but even more so now that people aren't able, especially in retail situations, to get in and see and touch and feel the product. And even sectors like travel are needing to stay engaged with their customers to plant the seeds for future travel. Or I think about commercial real estate, residential real estate. Companies are going to get past this, and so how can you be well positioned during this time so that they're the first one that you think of, or that they think of you first, rather, as you come out. And I think that's where being a resource really matters here. And I'll tell you, I mean, we've seen this with clients, those that are being resources even to others in their same competitive space, it's reaping rewards for them. I think this is a time where competition has to be lowered, and we've got to focus on best practice sharing, because that's the only way that we're all going to get through this. And unfortunately, the reality is that even with the PPP and the SBA loans, not everyone is going to weather the storm. And so thinking about partnerships and opportunities for collaboration that may come forth as part of this, just staying very open to those opportunities. Going back to your core values, I think this is really where this has to be the foundation for everything that you do. And essentially, it comes down to leading with integrity, right? People want to do business with companies that are integrous. And so just having that at the forefront. And finally, another thing that we've seen is that in some industries, I mean, IT is an example of this. All of a sudden, because of the dynamics at play here, certain industries like IT providers are in sudden demand more than ever. Just be really careful about price perception and value here, rather than hijacking or jacking up your prices out of necessity. Being sure that there is true value that is there, because I think this is where the long view comes into play. There may be some temporary gains with that, but you may lose in the long haul, just in the court of public opinion. Now, moving ahead, I think this is where some crisis communications theory comes into practice here. Lauren, can we move to the next? There we go. I love this resource. This is the change cycle, and this is a trademarked resource that talks about change management. And I think this is really helpful in thinking about ourselves and our employees and our customers right now. There are 6 sequential stages that we go through anytime something new is forced upon us. And what we're seeing right now is a new iteration of that, because with each stage of reopening, we're forced back into that situation of loss, doubt, discomfort, discovery. And as we begin to integrate these new practices, from wearing a mask to being aware of everything that we're touching, there is some scaffolding that occurs here with how we're able to absorb change. But where this really comes into play from a communication standpoint is that we are lost in this change cycle over and over and over. And so it's more important than ever to really cut through the clutter with your communication. We're finding that everybody's saying the same thing in some flowery kind of way, and we're becoming desensitized to that in our communication. You'll find words like unprecedented times, or those are phrases that have been out there for the last several weeks that they're just going over our heads at this point. People really are burned out and tired, and it's even more important to just get straight to the point. What are you doing to protect me as a customer? What are you doing to protect me as an employee, and providing that safety and reassurance? But it's about being more direct than ever. And then if we'll go on, Lauren. I think this is where having that crisis communication plan, this whole situation has underscored the importance of having one if you didn't already, because what it allows us to do is think about all of the what ifs that can impact your reputation in a situation where you're not in it. You're not building the ship in the water, so to speak. And so I think this is the time where if things are slower for your business, I'd encourage you to step back and sort of dust this off. And this could be even basic manual processes, right? Like, how do you operate in a power outage? We've had countless power outages in tornado season and severe weather season. These are things that are going to happen in Middle Tennessee every year, right? Thinking about how you continue to operate through that. Thinking from an employee communication standpoint, now that we are in a digital space so much, how do you continue to engage your team and your employees? Because at the end of the day, they're the best advocates for what you do and the best PR for you in the community. I think it's important to be proactive with these types of communications. When there is a miss, I think every business is in a place right now where if someone on your team has not contracted COVID, you've got to plan for the what if and have the communications ready to go so that you're not scrambling to get the information out there from a safety standpoint and to reassure your different stakeholders. And I love this philosophy with communications of just when there is something that has occurred that is negative, to get it out there. Tell the truth, tell it all, and get it out there quickly. Speed is of the essence here, especially in the age of social media, where a picture or a story or a tweet says it all. At its heart, crisis communications is correcting the record and sharing facts. And so just being equipped to be able to do that. Now, sometimes there is a bit of a tug of war with what you want to say versus what you can legally say. So we walk that tightrope many times. I think there's a way to compassionately share information and to do it authoritatively without being perceived as fighting words. And then again, going back to employees here, I think this is where we've seen so many situations play out in the headlines over the last several weeks where hard decisions are having to be made, but there is a way to make those decisions and to deliver information that starts with your employees. That's really where it needs to begin. They need to be equipped with the processes and protocols so that they can advocate for those. And we've also seen situations where layoffs have occurred via a Zoom meeting or an email to people. And our people deserve more than that. Those are types of decisions that will have echoes for years and years to come when it comes to your brand. Those are stories that are really hard to recover from. So just kind of thinking about the employee side of things in particular with extra care and attention. And then now Lauren's going to take it back and kind of talk to what's ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. And you know, Jenny's last point on the employees cannot be overemphasized. But you know, by everything she said, by setting those brand filters of how you want your employees or all of your stakeholders to look at you, after, this is over. So I was reading, I think, Jenny, probably the same New York Times article as you about Weight Watchers, which is now called something else, WW now. I guess they shortened it because it's about all wellness, not just weight. They apparently let go a significant portion of their workforce on a mass Zoom meeting. Now, if they had set these filters at the beginning of this and said, how do we want to be known? I don't think they wanted a New York Times article talking about how they treated their employees poorly, right? So just having, I keep these printed out, and it's like a gut check for me of, okay, wait, is this email, does it fit? Am I being congruent with who I said I want our company to be? So let's talk about looking ahead. And we're already seeing a lot of this. So while we don't know when we're going to get a vaccination. We don't know if there's going to be another lockdown in fall. We don't know anything, right? So we're just having to all kind of go with the flow here and adjust. But these things we're going to discuss right now, we're already starting to see change and pivot. And we believe that getting ahead of it now will just make you stronger. And one of them is, in our next slide, we're going to talk about words, overused words. Pivot is one of them. I just said that. So I'm already seeing, and this makes me so happy as a business owner, a more widespread, save and support small business mentality. And sure, it's been popular to support the small business owner for years and almost trendy, right? But what I'm talking about goes beyond Small Business Saturday or entrepreneurs supporting other entrepreneurs. That stuff has always been happening. The whole world has had a spotlight on small business owners the past few months as they've been forced to shut down and deal with things that they haven't had to before. Most people, whether they own a business or not, can tell you what the SBA does in PPP funding now just from turning on the news, right? So whereas, as a business owner, I always knew in my heart that businesses and business owners would do anything to save their employees. I've watched that over the past several months with these crisis hotline calls we're doing through, I'm on the board of Entrepreneurs Organization here locally. I'm in WPO, and I've watched my peers put it all on the line to save their businesses so that they can save their employees and keep their people paid. And I'm not the only one who's watched that. The general public now understands that. So I think it's going to go beyond, I think there's going to be this more widespread, we're already seeing it, mentality and push to really embrace and support small business. And I think it's going to be at all levels. I don't think it's just small biz supporting small biz. It's not going to surprise me to see major global brands, and we're starting to see it a bit, talk about how what they do helps small business as well. It would not shock me to see a global, automotive brand do a thank you campaign to all of the small businesses, that they provide vehicles for, the flower shop that uses one of their trucks or their suppliers. So I think we're going to see people want to be tied into the small business movement right now. And I think that's a really cool, great thing. So no matter your business's size, and we've got a couple, small biz on here, just like myself, I think it's a really great thing to just continue to be working that into your messaging. Now is not the time to sell. You got to master the soft sell. Leading with empathy. Sales pitches are going to fall flat right now. Jenny talked about that a little bit. But those who really are going to stand out right now are the marketers who lead with compassion. And this goes into safety and, health guidelines and what we're doing to make this a good experience and a safe experience for you. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. I think marketing messaging, we're already seeing it, is shifting from brand awareness to education on how to do business with a brand in the new normal. So, let's say we've got the urgent care clinic in here. Before, your messaging likely was, what are my key differentiators? Why to use our business? What are our selling points? Any one of us can pull up our email and look at emails we've gotten from brands over the past few weeks, and it's all about here's how we do business with each other now. It's education. It's when you come into my facility, you know, a mask will be provided, or it's, you know, here's how you can still get our product even though our bricks and mortar isn't open. So messaging is, it's all about education and how we're keeping each other safe. And in most instances, safety and health was not a message, unless, you know, you are a hospital or there's special, you know, circumstances. But even me as a marketing agency owner, I never once had a conversation with my clients or my employees about what I'm doing to keep them protected from disease, right? But now it's everything. So really thinking through that. So let's say pre-COVID, you know, so we're in Wedgwood, Houston, and I'm looking out the door at Dozen Bakery. I don't know if anyone's been there. It's really amazing. But let's say Dozen Bakery, and I get so excited because they're not open, of course, but they're doing to go. And every time I see a car pull up and they bring an order out to them, I get so happy that people are supporting them in small biz. But pre-COVID, their messaging was more, hey, our coffee's great, right? Our food's great. Here's why. Here's our specials. You can come in and get this meal special. Now it's all about, here's how we are keeping you safe. Here's how you can pick up your food. So just kind of thinking about that, I really think messaging is going to go more to how to do business with each other with a high premium on health and safety. And then with that, look back to your stakeholders that we discussed, right? We wrote down some stakeholders. All of your stakeholders need to be addressed, and they each warrant their own almost mini strategy. So clearly, if, you know, I'm not getting my news the same way as my grandmother, but we do frequent some of the same brands, right? Let's say we both go to a coffee shop. Well, I'm going to get my news and I'm going to need to hear a different message than she is. So really looking at all of your different stakeholders. There's going to be, and we're already seeing it, an increased emphasis on value and responsible spending. And when I say value, I want to be sure that we don't mistake that with couponing or cheap, right? When I say value, I don't mean you have to be the lowest cost product there. I mean, people are looking at every dollar they spend and making sure that there's a good ROI there. So it's more that your product provides value, your experience provides value, not, hey, we're the cheapest out here. So I just want to be clear before we talk about this. That's not what I mean. I mean, providing an experience and a product that is responsible spending and provides good value for the end user. This is the first, you know, financial crisis for a lot of our population, a lot of the millennial population. You know, I was in college when 9/11 happened. The job market had really picked back up by the time I graduated. And then, you know, the 2009 crisis, I didn't own a business during the last recession. So it just didn't impact me as much, right? It clearly impacts me now as I own the business, have 2 kids, things like that. And I think there's a lot of people who are now really rethinking things. So messaging really should focus on, here's why we're a good choice. Like, when you do business with us, it's a good, responsible, sound choice. We're providing you something of quality. And then digital really continues to rise. It's really interesting to me where, let's say 15 years ago when I entered the industry, digital was just hot, just picking up, and we've watched it rise. But now it's really the only way right now. We're very limited. We can't have the face-to-face engagement, at least to the level and the extent that we were able to. And where, you know, events once, it was very interactive and we were pushing our clients and brands to have these hands-on interactive experiences. Now that's just not possible. So we're almost going in a different direction. But digital will always be here, right? And there's some things we're seeing. So we're part of the Public Relations Global Network. And what that means is we have about 50 partner agencies around the world that we information share with Partner With on projects, and we surveyed them a few weeks ago. We were like, hey guys, what are you seeing? Like with digital, where are your clients spending money? And LinkedIn is one of them. LinkedIn has been more important than ever. We've seen that with our clients as well. There's this new spotlight on LinkedIn as a way to drive business and sales. And then things like AI and VR, and then podcasting. So those are things that I think will continue to rise to the top. Consider some of those strategies right now. What can you be doing working into your marketing campaign? And then we're going to talk about what to watch out for as we wrap this up. And this is a hard one, this first one, like avoid COVID fatigue, right? We're all so sick of hearing about this, but it's also our daily life right now. So for marketers, it's this fine line of don't pretend, that avoid tying into COVID with everything you do, but don't pretend everything's the same either, right? So where's that balance? It's walk that fine line of addressing the current landscape, but not making it all about that. Avoiding buzzwords, unprecedented times, uncertain times. We're pivoting our approach. There's, you can Google it, it's on YouTube, and I'll try and think of the name in a moment, but an agency put together a compilation of some of the biggest brands, like brands we've all heard of, and sliced their commercials together. And it's like 5 different brands in a row saying the exact same thing. You don't want to be that person. And then realize, Zoom, and this is funny because we're sitting here on Zoom, we're on a webinar right now, but Zoom and video conferencing burnout is a thing. And we have to be doing it right now because we can't be in person for these events like we are all used to and would like to. And I do think we're going to see an increase in, hey, does this need to be a trip out, to meet in person with all that added expense, or could this be a Zoom call? For sure. I think we've gone leaps and bounds, in a matter of weeks in terms of technology. The business world in general has. However, that doesn't mean it should be all that we do, and people are getting burnt out on webinars and video conferences. And let's look at ways to take marketing to other channels once we are able to, all be back in the office and do some things face to face. And then looking at events, they're going to require a new level of forethought and logistical planning that just wasn't there before. Raise your hand, and you can raise your actual hand, not your virtual hand, if you're truly eager to host an open house right now and get people in, or does that make you a little nervous? It makes me nervous. We moved into a brand new office space 2 weeks before this hit. And we're supposed to be having our open house right now and all of that fun stuff. And at first I'm like, okay, we'll just have it this summer, then we'll just have it in fall. But now it seems like such a liability, and the forethought that it's going to require to get lots of people in here and do it safely, it's making us think, well, what else could we do? Is there a different way to do this and to invite people into our space in a different way? So it's just a lot of the things that kind of were our go-tos, right? Big ribbon cuttings when you open a new location with lots of people and past hors d'oeuvres and all of that stuff. It's just different now, at least for the near future. I don't think we're going to see those this year, and it'll be pretty deep into next year, I think. And mainly, I think it's because it's going to feel like a headache to produce without someone who specializes in events. And there's some great firms out there that specialize in events, but it's just going to be different now. And really, that is all. To recap, we've got the worksheet coming your way so you can set your own brand filters. And I really encourage you to take the time to do that. Do it, with your leadership team, and print them out and look at them. And when you're trying to question, how do I have this conversation about payroll or this or that we're open or that we're keeping you safe, look back and think, what I'm saying now, what I'm doing now, what I'm putting in writing now is going to impact how people think of me a year from now, 18 months from now. So it's really worth it to take that time and investment in your brand. And then do know that if you have any questions or just want to, hop on a Zoom call with someone from our team, the link will be provided to you all. It was earlier in the presentation, but we've got a handout. We'll provide Amy to get to you guys. Don't hesitate to reach out, follow up. I mean, it's part of what our agency is doing to give back right now, and we're loving doing it. So I think we have a few minutes. We have 1 minute for questions. If anyone has any questions we didn't address.
I think we can go a little bit longer if we need to. Does anybody you want to just jump on the chat or just unmute yourself since we have such a small group? I think we should.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm still waiting for the exact date and time. Do y'all have that yet? Or?
How about I just make one up and I say it with such confidence that you believe me?
Hey, perception's everything. So I'm right there with you.
December 18th, 2020. I don't know why I said that.
Hey.
I hope it's sooner.
I'll take that in a
We're going to
heartbeat.
have a vaccination on December 18th. Okay, this is how fake news gets said.
Yeah.
Hey, Vicki, did you raise your hand?
Oh, go ahead.
Hang on, let me unmute you with this silly unmute button that takes 10 times to push it. I don't know why. It's so persnickety. Okay, Vicki.
Okay. Yeah. I hope the information that you send us, that I'd love a review on the brand filters, because you said run everything through the brand filters.
Yeah.
And I don't think I got that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go back right now and give a really quick overview, because we did kind of rush through that part because I wanted to make sure we had times. So here are the brand filters that my agency did. So it was, I say 3 to 5, we have 4. And it's really these statements of how you want your stakeholders. And your stakeholders can be your clients, your customers, your partners, vendors, employees, your board, how you want them to think of you when this is all over. So when this is all over, on, what did I say, December 18th, 2020? Fake news.
That's what you said.
That's what I said. Don't hold me to it.
Hey, I'm recording this.
Okay, we'll cut that part out. But kidding. I want our clients to look back and say, wow, Reed PR was my rock during this. I'm so glad we had them on board. They reassured us, they provided guidance, their commitment to excellence was constant and turnkey with minimal disruption. And then, with our employees, that we really took care of them to the best of our ability. We've been very fortunate. We did have immediate revenue loss, but we were able to replace it, plus some with crisis work, advantage of being a PR agency right now. But I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if we'd be in a position to have to do furloughs or layoffs or anything. So grateful we weren't. But before I knew any of that, I said, we took care of our employees to the best of our ability. We were fair, humane, and kind. We acted with compassion. And then just general brand, general stakeholders. I wanted, we were thought leaders. We're a resource, and we share creative solutions based in our industry. And how we came up with these was starting with the stakeholder exercise, but then cross-checking with our core values and making sure everything was aligned. And the worksheet that we're sending, and I'll just leave this slide up because it's got the hotline info. And I'd love it, to take an hour with you or 45 minutes if you want to sign up for one of these sessions and go through yours. But that is how anything we do, like before, I get on and give you guys this presentation, I look at those and I'm like, am I providing info that does those things? Does that make sense?
Yes. And you're sending information about this?
A worksheet on how to do your own.
Okay. On how to
set those 3 to 5 statements for you.
For the brand
Right.
filter. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, thank you. And then
I wish we could work through them all on the call, but it takes more time than we've got.
Yeah, seems like it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's great.
Anyone else have anything they would like to ask before we
Oh,
let you get
and
back?
will you include yours?
Yeah, I think they're in the worksheet, but if not, we'll make sure they are.
Oh, good. So for an example, you know, instead of just, an example always helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
And Vicki, this is recording, and I will be putting it up on YouTube. And I'll send it out to everybody that missed it today. So you're welcome to watch it.
I'd love to.
This has been incredibly helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we've been doing a lot of this the right way. Looking at our core values again was an extremely useful tip for me, and I'm going to definitely do that. You know, the chamber is having to write communications nonstop, whether it's social media or emails or renewal letters, or, you know, you're on your dues letters, all, and in personal communication letters. So, you know, this one is extremely helpful for me because I have to write all that, and I have to write scripts to give to my volunteers when they're calling people. And so I'm definitely going to take advantage of this communications hotline thing. And I am sad for all of our members who were not able to participate in this today because it was excellent information. I would like to make an ask of our members that are on today. If you have found this information useful to you, we would love it if you would take a moment to write a review for us on Facebook. As part of our brand messaging, we are trying to get as many people to talk about the chamber and how, if we've been useful to you, we really would appreciate that. So, and I'm sure Lauren and Jenny would appreciate the same.
Yes, you can search Read Public Relations. We're on Facebook.
Yeah, Read Public Relations. I'm sure, are you on Instagram as well?
We are. It's at Read_PR.
Okay, make sure you're jumping on and following those guys for their benefit as well as yours. So thank you again, everyone, for taking the time, and Lauren and Jenny and Jennifer as well. Thank you so much for this very useful information. Look forward to receiving the follow-up documents, and I will forward those out to everyone, and hopefully everyone can take advantage of your communications hotline, and at some point maybe use you guys as part of their brand strategy on a basis sometime going forward. That would be cool as well. Any closing remarks, everyone?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. And I'd second what Amy said. This is great information. Really appreciate you ladies coming on.
Yes.
Absolutely. We enjoy doing
Thank you
it.
so much.
You're helping
Okay.
us with our brand filters of being a resource.
That's exactly right. And you're doing a great job with that. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.